When it comes to discussions about West African identity and the origin of West African cultures, many ideologues promote the Saharan hypothesis that state that the principal ancestors of modern West Africans are the ancient Saharan inhabitants of West Africa that migrated south to coastal Refugia around 5,000 years ago, without any direct association or affiliation with the cultures of the Happy River Valley, particularly the Pharaonic culture of ancient Kimi. There are many critical flaws of this hypothesis. Its proponents are engaged in what is called geographic determinism and isolationism through the application of the defunct Garden of Eden principle. In simpler terms, these ideologues believe that the totality of cultures and peoples in West Africa developed from ancient times without any major contributions from other parts of the continent. The one fatal flaw of their thinking is the fact that the Sahara housed cultures associated with every stage of human development: Homo erectus, archaic humans, and modern Homo sapiens sapiens. This doesn't mean that these cultures are directly connected to each other just because of geographic proximity. Massive gaps between the terminal Saharan cultures and the first contemporary states in West Africa exist. For example, there is almost a 1,000-year gap between the end of the Tichik culture and the onset of Ouagadougou. What these researchers miss is the fact that these ancient Saharan hunter-forager populations were subsumed by agropastoralists who migrated into West Africa and developed territorial states from 4 to 1.5 thousand years ago. According to the analysis of Dr. Kevin MacDonald, the microlithic cultures of these ancient West Africans, as well as their languages, have been lost. The Ja'ala people of northeast Nigeria, who speak a language isolate, are believed to be their direct descendants. In fact, many West Africans have terms for the ancient inhabitants of West Africa that their ancestors met when migrating from the east to their current location. On the flip side, there is a complete absence of a collective memory of the ancient Sahara by most modern West African groups. According to the Dogon, the Yeben and the Andumbu came in the current region first. The Telem came next around the 11th century, and then came the Dogon or Ka'ador around the 16th century in the Bandiagara area. The Mande and Dogon revere the proprietary rites of these ancients in their modern rituals. The Soninke call the 4th century immediate predecessors of the Ouagadougou cultures the Goloma, and refer to the collective groups related to the ancient Tichik culture as the Kokolo, for ancient ones. The Bozo and the Sakarwa fishermen are Mande groups considered the current oldest people in the Niger region, and they both speak about short-red men who existed there before them. The Malinke call these people Woklo. The Susu of Guinea speak about diminutive populations called Doki. The Wolof call these ancient West Africans Gondro. And among other Malinke, they were called Komokudumi. Among the Masi, they are called Kinkirsi. Among the Songhai, they are called Adakurma. Among the Gorma, they are called Apola. And among the Kurumba, they are called Ajijia. The peoples of Liberia call them Jina. So as you can see, many West Africans have oral traditions and lexical terminology to define the ancient populations that existed in West Africa before them and that they replaced upon migrating into the region. So when we examine the Saharan hypothesis and the material cultural evidence that exists in the Sahara, from artifacts to petroglyphs, the direct links between the ancient Sahara and modern West Africa are restricted to faunal industries, or industries related to animals. Outside of simple propositions about body paint and lithic ornaments, the ancient Saharan cultures do not have much to offer in terms of explanations about the major socio-cultural roots of modern Africa. Though the ancient Sahara was a preliminary ancestral step, the Happy River Valley complex is the immediate direct ancestral cradle of the cultures of contemporary Africa. We see this in the common Paleo-African cultural substratum and mode of production seen from classical Kimi Kush to contemporary Africa. The governing socio-political structure and sovereignty correspondences with respect to the body as a container of forces, seen by the Nasut of Kimi, the Mvun of the grass fields of West Cameroon, the Mogonaba of the Masi, the Kayamaga of Ouagadougou, and the Oheni among the Akan, establish general commonalities. We don't find any descriptive examples of kingship in the ancient Sahara. The systematic theology using Dr. Leoluca's solar epistemology correspondences between the transcendent one, the creator, and the eternal verb seen in the Happy River Valley divination systems, the Lakam systems of the Grassfields people of West Cameroon, the Odinani system of the Igbo, and the Ifa of the Yoruba, also establish commonalities between the Pharaonic civilizations and contemporary West Africans, and more particularly the near-identical components between the Ama divination system of the Ka'ador or Dogon people of West Africa and the Ama divination system of Kimi and Kush cannot be explained using ancient Saharan petroglyphs during the Bovidian pastoral period. So they're basically too close, the Dogon spiritual systems and the systems of ancient Kimi and Kush, to just simply chalk it off to an ancient Saharan bond. It's a more recent direct bond that speaks to an east to west migration across the Sahel that the ancestors of the Dogon people traveled. The archaeology of the Neolithic Sahara does not match the founding narratives of the first West African states. The relatively peaceful Chepka period of the ancient Tichik culture, for example, does not correspond to the founding warfare narratives of the Ouagadougou Empire. Those scholars such as Hole have attempted to use geographic determinism and rainmaking as a mediator of stress in the power of the snake deity Bida. Rain for Dinka Sise and the founders of the Ouagadougou functions in tandem with the recurring natural phenomenon. Rainmaking alone is not enough to establish ethnogenesis specifically for the Soninke, because this power and process exists in the same fashion among the Serer and the Fulani. We can't use this to say that they also descend from Tichik. And on the flip side, rainmaking alone does not explain the many other deities within the Soninke pantheon and their role in the founding of Ouagadougou. The toponymic network, where we see place names like Kimi, Kaukau, and Kara in Eastern Africa being exported to West Africa as Kumbi, Gao, and Gara, also show basic commonalities speaking to this migratory origin. Epigraphs and the grapheme analog seen between Mendudunter and the many West and Central African writing systems like Akauku of the Bamum, Insibidi of the Ejagam and Igbo people, as well as other cross-river peoples, speaks to a direct relationship. And this is important due to Dr. Musa Lamb's architectonic analysis of the spatio-temporal evolution of agricultural and aquatic toolkits from the Happy River Valley prototypes that developed into forms that we now see in West and Central Africa. And this evolution uncovered by Dr. Musa Lamb reaches a delicacy that excludes the possibility of parallelism. The Mur farming tool developed from a plant fiber-braced timber prototype in ancient Kimi and Kush to a rivet-fastened metallic tool in Senegambia. The Kanjandu and Ilir garden hose were used for saturated soils. The weaved wicker baskets of the Happy River Valley evolved into timber bowls defined by grip handles in Senegambia. The harpoon instruments of ancient Kimi developed into nylon coinoidal tools in Senegambia that firmly connect the harpoon to the shaft. Lost wax casting systems developed from Happy River Valley prototypes to inter-African innovations from Ghana to Cameroon, where crucible attachments were used to control the gas pressure and metallurgical flow during the casting process. The Ngulu sword of Congo evolved from the Kopes sword in ancient Kimi, developing a non-cutting back edge with semicircular concavity. The handle is wrapped in wires and contains 3 timber spheres. The Heka scepter of ancient Kimi evolved into the Hogon scepter of Mali, with an inflected hook, a midpoint disc handle, and a sharpened endpoint. A variation of this design is the Hogon Kabyline scepter. The Was scepter prototype of ancient Kimi developed into a uniquely fabricated, freshly trimmed beam placed in fire to augment its elasticity and treated with oil to augment its material resistance and aesthetic qualities. The Happy River Valley headrest evolved into anthropomorphic models throughout Africa while retaining the same composition, base, and upright hanger. Urban societies and the structural tectonics of building systems of modern Africa find many roots in the first dynasty of ancient Kimi. Because the Green Sahara existed prior to the urbanization period, the roots of contemporary African infrastructure cannot be found there. Through an extensive comparative archaeological and historical analysis, it is clear that one must place both the Sahara and the Happy in its proper context. Though the Green Sahara, with its Roundhead, Kiphian, and Tenarian cultures, does offer valuable understanding in terms of the foundational, aqualithic, and pastoral ancestry of Kimi and Kush, it cannot fully articulate the full origins and evolutionary roots of contemporary Africa. The Pharaonic civilization, however, is where we find a mass compendium of evidence that proves that it is the immediate cultural cradle of the majority of Africa's modern cultures.